This panel is composed of three amazing guys. One of them is Tim Holy. He's a senior product manager of Etsy, the famous marketplace from New York City. The second one, I know him for almost 20 years, which is my partner in crime, is David. He's the CEO of Wireless Idea and Funke now. And he has a lot of experience on how to expand your business into Latin America. And the third one is Gabriel Hernandez, which is like the champion of the Law 20 and 22. Is very active promoting those laws and is involved in many, many initiatives in order to promote Puerto Rico as a great place to do business. So I would like a warm round of applause to the three speakers. Come up. Be careful here because today Bill Olet took this away, and Bill Olet is an entrepreneur, and all the entrepreneurs are clumsy. So he demonstrated that. So I think, David, you're going to start, right? You have your microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. And then this is very important. Everybody, write your questions. Make all the questions. I think this is the right way to move Puerto Rico forward. It's like try to export, and these guys are going to tell you how they did it or what they're doing or their suggestions. So take it.
Mic working fine. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Higher volume, I think. Increase
Okay,
volume.
perfect. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Melchor. As Carlos said, I was born and raised in Madrid, Spain, up until I was 20. Then went to London, and then moved to Puerto Rico 20 years ago, fall in love with the island, met Carlos, and then I've been an entrepreneur ever since. So what I am going to do first in the entertainment and advertising space, and then more recently, in the last 14 years, I've been into technology. So basically what I am going to do today is I'm going to tell you my experience and of a company that we built in 2003, and we were able to grow it from just one single market in Puerto Rico to expand it and grow into several markets. No? So the idea is that you guys can learn a little bit by all the mistakes that we made, all the things that we did wrong, and all the things that also we did right. No? So basically, what's on the menu is going to be a brief presentation, less than 10 minutes. So the idea is that after, you guys, as Carlos says, we make it this interactive and you can ask all the questions, okay? So basically, I'm going to talk a little bit about the personal experience. I'm going to talk about why it's important to think big and have the right mentality, and every time you build a business, you have to think globally. We are living in a global market, and we cannot only think local. This is very, very important to have the right mentality from the beginning, okay? Number two, we're going to talk a little bit about how to do it and how to do it right, and I hope you can learn a little bit by the experience that I had and all the mistakes that we made in the process. We're going to talk a little bit about when is the right timing to expand internationally. This is very important, very critical. In business, timing is everything, and for this particular discipline, to make the decision to go internationally, timing is very, very important. Then we're going to talk a little bit about, what are the things that you need in order to be successful in your international venture. And finally, we're going to summarize, on some keys to success, okay? So a little bit about my personal experience. After being a few years in the entertainment industry and marketing and advertising, Carlos and I decided to jump into technology, and we saw the potential of the mobile phones. So in 2003, we founded Wireless Idea with 3 employees and $500,000. Okay? Wireless Idea was one of the first digital marketing and content distribution network, and we started operating in Puerto Rico locally, and we were able to expand overseas, as we're going to see. So basically, we went from our little island to operate in 17 countries. So we went from 0 to 120 employees in just a few years, and it was an amazing journey. As you can see, we started in Puerto Rico, we expanded into the US, we expanded then into Central America, Guatemala, Panama, Nicaragua, then Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, and finally Brazil, which is the largest market of Latin America. Also, we went from 0 revenues in 2003 to over 70 millions in revenues in 2010. So it was a very challenging time, and we learned a lot about what to do and what not to do when you expand your business internationally. Okay? As you can see here, this is a chart of our first years of how the revenues grew. Basically, this bar that you can see here, it's when we decided to jump overseas. So these first years were establishing more the business here in Puerto Rico, and then when we were ready, we jumped overseas, and you can see the impact that addressing bigger audience and bigger markets had, in your revenues. Así que, a few reasons why you should consider an international expansion from the beginning. And this is, to me, very basic, but let's go a little bit about it. Number one, obviously, Puerto Rico is a very small island, or whatever is your home market. If you go outside, you're always going to find more customers, and you're going to have the potential to generate more revenues. When you achieve economies of scale by going abroad, what usually happens is that you get higher efficiencies, and then your margins increase. So your profitability margins are going to open up as a result of having a larger scale in your business. You can learn a lot by going outside your market. You learn a lot from new customers. You learn a lot from your competitions. We were able to learn a lot from our competitors in one particular market and replicate back home strategies that were successful in another particular market. So it's a great source of information and learning and so. What else? Also, when you move to other markets, your talent pool increase. You have access to new talent, you have access to new technologies, and you create new partnerships that and then you try to create synergies between all your markets, and that's something. That's another reason why. And then, especially here for Puerto Rico, it's strategically located between the US and Latin America, and it's the perfect bridge to export products and services from here. And Gabriel is going to talk a little bit more about the fiscal and economical incentive that the companies that promote export from Puerto Rico has. We were one of the first ones to benefit from these programs, and it's great. The people here speak good English, speak good Spanish. We understand the culture in the US. We understand the culture of the Latinos in Latin America. So we're in the perfect place to export from Puerto Rico. Okay? How to export? There's a few ways that you can go outside, and a few things to consider. So, to me, one of the most important things is that expansion should be driven by strategy and not by opportunity. Okay? This is very important. We made this mistake, our international expansion, even though it was successful, we waste a lot of time in the sequence. We decided to go first where we have a friend, where we have a client, a contact, right? So we waste a lot of time going to Panama and Central America because there was a client that wanted to run a promotion with us there, and it's the exact same effort to break a market like Panama with this size than to go to Mexico, which is 50 million people, or to go to Brazil, So you need to carefully plan your strategy and go first where it makes more sense for you and for your company, okay? This is really important. It's always important to do a little bit of testing, before going outside. So it's good that you pick at least one or two markets test markets to see, to make sure that your organization is ready to take on the international expansion, right? You don't want to conquer the world all at once. You just want to pick 1 or 2 markets and then, try first. And then when you feel comfortable that you have the structure, the process, the resources, then you can go and conquer more. You have to do your homework, okay? This has to do with the strategy. You need to do research. You need to learn the battlefield. You need to know what you're facing. You need to understand the consumer. You need to understand the level of evolution of that. You need to understand the culture, very important. So you need to do your good research at every level, political, economical, fiscal, cultural, very, very important to be successful. The more you know about one particular market, the higher the probabilities you have of success. Also, it's a good strategy to evaluate local partnerships. You need to leverage all the help that you can. So a strategy that could work well is build local partnerships with local people, local entrepreneurs or local companies that they know the space well, that can open doors for you, that can give you insights, that you can partner with. This comes at a price. You have to really, really be careful who do you partner with, because you don't have time to make mistakes. So make sure you do your background checks. We learned this the hard way. And you partner with the right people if you decide to partner with local entrepreneurs or with local companies to support your growth. And of course, you have to leverage existing relationships. We were very successful by growing with our clients. So if you have a financial institution that has presence in other markets, maybe you can leverage that relationship. If you have a relationship with one particular client, you can go, and that particular client has presence in other markets, you can leverage that relationship and go with them to other markets. We were very successful in doing this with the mobile operators. So this is important. And then take advantage of international treaties and other international trade agreements. As we said, we were able to leverage, the incentives that the Puerto Rico government was giving us, well, he will talk a little bit more about this, but we were able to save a lot of money in taxes by benefiting from these incentives. And this money that we save in taxes, we use it to reinvest and expand into other markets. So when is the right moment to expand? This is very important. You don't want to expand too early. You don't want to expand too late. Timing is very important here. So it's very important for you to understand that expanding into other markets will take energy, resources, and capital, okay? So it's not until you have these things ready that you can move outside of your core market. You need to make sure that you're solid at home, that you got a good foundation, that your business is solid at home before moving into other markets, right? Because otherwise, could be a distraction if you're not solid at home.
2 minutos, okay. Hermano, 2 minutos.
Timing must be right to enter a market. When we look at Latin America, and this is important, I thought that I was seeing Brazil, and Brazil was too big, too large. And I said, I will leave Brazil for the last one, when I'm ready, when I have the resources, when I have the capital. When I decided to go to Brazil, it was too late. It was too late. Too many competitors. It was very hard to get in, and I got to the party was over. Okay, so it's very important timing. Let's see what else. You need to build a solid management team to support growth and to absorb the workload that is going to be generated for you going overseas, and attacking new markets. What do you need? Structure follows a strategy, so you need to reorg your organization at different levels to make sure that you can support the growth outside. Your corporate structure needs to be different. It's not the same to serve one market than to serve several. And also your management team and your organization and your process need to be able to have that in place in order to be successful. You need to build the right team of local advisors. This is very important. Fiscals and laws are different, taxes are different. Sometimes you need license, so it's a very good idea to put together a team of lawyers and fiscal people and experts on that particular market to advise you on what things you have to do and what things you have to avoid. And very important, you need to secure capital for expansion. It's something it's always risky if you're going to take cash flow from your current operation to fund another operation, you know? So it's better always to secure capital to make sure that you have enough resources in order to be successful. And be prepared to travel, you know, especially the first years, you know, and it's not fun, you know. I remember when we went outside for the first 3 years, I did almost 1 million miles and many, many nights of hotels outside, you know. It comes at a price, you know. So get used to hotel, taxis, traffic jams, and spending a lot of time away from family and away from home.
And losing your mobile phone.
And lose your phone, yeah. Okay, so a little bit of a recap. Think global from the beginning, you know, having your business plan, have it in your head. Don't be afraid of failure. It's very important to have the mentality. We always knew that we want to go outside Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a very limited market. The economy is contracted here. It's very challenging to do business here. Think outside the box, you know, dare to dream outside. And then act local. Is this very important? Be sensitive to the cultural differences between the different markets. I think international expansion is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and how. It's not an option. And if you stay here, companies from outside will come and eat you alive. You have to go there, you know, you have to beat them in their own turf. Get the right people on the bus, management, consultants, local advisors. Make sure that you have, you know, a solid team before you go in outside. Planning, planning, and planning. It's very important. As I said before, you know, it should be driven, your expansion, by strategy, never by opportunity. And leverage relationship, networking, clients, partners, associations, as we were seeing the other day. Be engaged in associations, you know, develop contacts in the other markets, and then take advantage of the treaties. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Tim Hawley and I'm a senior product manager at a company called Etsy. And at Etsy I focus on international and growth. So for those of you who don't know, and I hope you all do, but if you don't, Etsy is a global marketplace where you can buy and sell unique handmade and vintage items. So what are those items? They are things like handmade furniture, vintage dresses, maybe custom party invitations, a really wide range of things. So to give you guys some sense of scale, we have roughly 40 million people in the Etsy community, and roughly 1 million of them are sellers. So they're the supply side of the business. We have round about 26 million products in the marketplace. In 2013, we did around about $1.3 billion in sales. So I want to share some things that we have learned over the last few years building Etsy's global marketplace. So to talk about international and Etsy, you really need to go all the way back to the beginning when we started in 2005. And in Etsy's first week, so pretty much just after we launched, there were orders that were crossing international borders. And that means that there was a buyer in one country purchasing an item from a seller in another. And so that kind of sounds like a global business, but I would say it isn't. And I say that primarily because it was something that happened to us. It wasn't the result of a strategy. It wasn't the result of product decisions that we had made. So like I said, it wasn't really anything global at that point. So fast forward to 2010. By this point, we had users in many different countries in the world, but we were pretty much still US-centric. And by that, I mean we were only available in English. US dollars were the only currency with which you could pay. And you even needed a US address in order to use some of the features. So I think pretty safe to say a really crappy experience for anyone who was not in the US. But before we start talking about specific strategies, and some of this is exactly related to what David was saying, why would you think about international? I'm sure some of you guys are very acutely aware that it's really hard to build awesome products, even for a small group of users in one market. So why would you bother thinking about new markets, new problems? Well, one of those is size of opportunity. And let's get concrete. So Puerto Rico has, I think, You guys correct me if I'm wrong. 3.6 million people. You compare that to, let's say, the US, where there's 320 million. Compare that to the number of people who are online all around the world, around about 3 billion. And man, you get a big difference in opportunity, or in size of opportunity. So, let's assume you're ready, you're going to go take over the world. How are you going to do it? And I'd love to stand here and give you guys, a recipe or a checklist to run down and bang, it's done. But as far as I've seen, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. The strategy is really up to you guys. You know your business is best, but there are some things that you might want to think about. So, which markets are you going to focus on? Big ones are really good, lots of opportunity, but maybe you can go a little bit deeper. Are there markets where you maybe have an advantage already? There's no language barrier. There's some type of cultural similarities. Maybe you need to think about markets where there are certain infrastructure in place. So let's say you need a reliable postal service, which we as Etsy do. Maybe you need a trustworthy banking system. Some things to think about. So let's assume you've chosen your markets. You think you know where you're going. How do you go about doing it? There are many options, two of which might be build local versions of your product in a number of different markets. So that means going deep in realistically only a few. Or maybe you go wide. Maybe you build a global platform where everyone can interact no matter where they are in the world. Well, at Etsy, we have chosen an approach that is one of a global marketplace that's built on top of a single platform. So in that sense, we're unlike, let's say, the Amazons or the eBays of the world, who generally think about international by building domestic and pretty siloed marketplaces. So if you want to go to Amazon in the UK, amazon.co.uk. eBay in Germany, ebay.de. We're a little bit more like maybe the Facebooks or the Twitters of the world. Single platform where people can interact no matter where they are. Facebook.com, Twitter.com, Etsy.com. Now, there are certainly pros and many, many cons to this approach. Don't get me wrong. One of the pros is that we have lots of products available when we launch in a new market. So, as I mentioned before, we have 26 million products. We can really leverage those when we go and enter a new country. On the con side, legal is difficult when you're operating in a world of commerce and in different markets. So let's say in the US, there's a sales tax model on purchases. In Europe, value-added tax. Finding a common solution that works for both of those different models is actually really challenging, and to be honest, is something that we haven't cracked yet. So 2011 was when we really started investing in international. We were focused back then on Western European markets. Big e-commerce markets have a strong history of arts and crafts, so we thought they were very well aligned with our business. So we went away, we did a bunch of work. Internationalized our code base, translated into new languages, introduced support for new currencies, did some localization tweaks, and we were really pumped. This is exactly what folks have been waiting for, to be able to use Etsy, let's say, in German and pay using euros. Well, as it turned out, didn't really happen that way. The growth that we had forecast just didn't happen. And it was pretty much at that point that we realized that this whole international thing is a little bit more difficult than maybe we thought. So since then, we've tried a lot of stuff, we've learned a lot of things, and I wanted to share some concrete examples with you guys. So, pretty basic. Long words will break your site. I guarantee it. Cart is a nice short 4-letter word in English, and you can imagine we're an e-commerce platform. Adding things to your cart and buying them is pretty core to our business. But when you translate that into Dutch, Winkelwagen, which is clearly much longer and also a bit strange, it starts to break your nicely laid out designs. Pages start to fall apart. So I highly recommend testing things before you put them in front of users. Secondly, this seems kind of obvious with hindsight, but products are seasonal. So when it's winter in the US, it's summer in somewhere like Australia. So when an Australian comes to the homepage, They don't want to see winter jackets. They want to see swimsuits or beach stuff. So take that into consideration. Another area we've had a fair amount of success with is giving people who are already using the product and already telling their friends about it ways to make it easier for them to do so, and in some cases rewarding them for taking those actions. So 2 examples. One is giving our sellers who are already selling on the platform the ability to invite their creative friends to really drive the supply side of the business, the seller side, in new markets. And also giving bloggers or tastemakers the ability to curate Etsy items, embed them on their blogs, and through that introduce Etsy to a whole new range of folks. Finally, when you think you're done localizing, I can almost guarantee you're not. Go back to the beginning, rethink those early decisions, question everything. One example in our case is payment methods. Turns out that not everyone all over the world wants to pay using a credit card online. News to us. So we did some work to create a bank transfer payment method, which is really common in Western Europe, that focused on increasing trust for people in those markets and really reducing friction in our checkout flow, which is clearly pretty important. We want people to buy things at the end of the day. So over the last few years, we've tried a lot of stuff. Some of it has worked. A whole bunch of it hasn't. We've often been really surprised by the things that have worked and confused by those things that didn't, which we just thought were, almost guaranteed successes. But more than anything, one of my takeaways is that international takes time. It's a big investment, so really don't give up too soon. Well, where are we today? 2014. As I mentioned early on, we had, in the first week, orders crossing borders. That now makes up 25% of our business, so a quarter of our business. We also have members in over 200 countries, or maybe nearly 200 countries, which is pretty much every country in the world. So our reach is truly global at this point. But we're certainly not done. There is a long way to go. We've only really scratched the surface. So we're really excited to see what we can do over the coming years to really move this forward and expand internationally. So thank you, guys. Looking forward to chatting.
Thank you, Tim. Now, Gabriel Hernandez.
Thank you, Carlos. First of all, I just want to say that I'm so proud of my friend Carlos Cobian for putting this thing together. It's really an honor, and I thank you even for considering, putting me up here on stage with you, thinking that I may say something important to boost your conference. But at the very least, I cannot say anything about you that is not about pride at this point in time. We are today, everybody in this room today, I think of it like we're breaking ground. It is a wonderful feeling to be part of what I feel is a rebirth, is a change in direction, it's a new energy for us here in Puerto Rico. A lot of the information you're receiving today will be very valuable as you move forward and look for new directions. But I'll say one thing. This journey does not start in your car. It does not start in your computer. It will not start in a conversation. This journey starts within. And it's so important for you to feel the confidence in yourselves to take that step, to take that risk, and move forward in a new direction. And it's so critical, and it's so obvious that we as a people need to take that step, that I can only thank Carlos for being part of the lighting fluid that is needed out there for us to embark in this journey as a people. So again, Carlos, thank you for getting this started. Thank you again. So they were talking about how to take your business international, and it was a concept that our firm we considered maybe 5 years ago, and for the obvious reasons, local market share as a whole, the size of the pie was shrinking. And we were thinking about strategies to avoid, looking at our top line in a decreasing situation. So we said, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to go international. And we started to find a strategy around this concept, and we found it. What was interesting is that when we found it, that strategy was completely aligned with the strategy of Puerto Rico as a whole. Because the concept around which we started to build our own internalization, close enough, was around the concept that we were sitting in a place that offered immense opportunities for businesses that were looking not into Puerto Rico, but looking to do business from Puerto Rico to markets outside Puerto Rico. And our thesis was proved time and time again, because we are advisors to people who are interested in doing business from Puerto Rico for markets outside Puerto Rico. And I can tell you that this thesis is a proof of concept, and it's a reality. Puerto Rico offers a perfect framework, geographically, legally, and from a tax perspective, to do business from Puerto Rico. And the incentives that I'll be discussing are not only available for people who are just deciding to take a plane and move operations from elsewhere to Puerto Rico, but those are available to everybody in the room today. So let me tell you let me describe what the typical conversation is with people that are looking to set up operations in the island, and how this evolves into an actual decision. So somebody calls in the phone, and the first thing that I got about 2 years ago was a call from a guy from JP Morgan, Chief Investment Officer, Global. So this is a guy, he's a Canadian, and he learned about Puerto Rico through an article and through a friend. So somehow he found our firm's name, my name, calls in. My secretary transfers the call and said, the Chief Investment Officer, JP Morgan Global, is calling you. I say, okay, Greg. So I pick up the phone, and like a good guy, well-bred in New York, the first thing I heard is, this is all bullshit. That's the first thing I heard from this guy. So I said, oh, great, my name is Gabby. That's the only thing I could say back to him. So he went on about describing the framework in Puerto Rico. Say, is it true that if I move operations to Puerto Rico, the tax rate on the corporation and whatever I move to the island will be 4%? And I said, yes. Is it true that if I personally move to Puerto Rico and I have investments and I trade on those investments, is it true that if I sell them as a resident of Puerto Rico, I pay no taxes, like zero? And I say, that's also true. Is it true that there is a financial industry active in Puerto Rico managing billions of dollars? And I said, the answer is yes. Can I hire people in the island? He says, yes, any day. You walk in, you'll find people you can hire. Could you be my advisor? That was a follow-up question. Very easy. So the story is these conversations, from that one conversation back in 2012, have multiplied, and probably I've taken in excess of 1,000 calls from people around the globe, people from Hong Kong, people from London. I've been there twice this year, on business, people from South America, many people from the U.S., telling me how great everything looks from the outside, wanting to get the story from the inside. And eventually, a good 20% of those 1,000 calls eventually made it to Puerto Rico. That's a huge, huge number. So the main point, and it's probably my biggest thing as I look into this, is that we're talking about the same Puerto Rico we live in. I'm not inventing a story. These people are coming in. They find it completely attractive. They love it. They stayed. Of the 200, I only had one guy that left because he decided to retire, travel the globe with his family, so he had no point in staying anywhere else in particular. So after 2 years and many people moving in, hearing the story from their end of how magnificent doing business from Puerto Rico is because of the tax savings, because the people they deal with and they work with, because the legal system and so on, and many, many stories. So I wonder, why don't we all do it? Why don't we all do it? That's a question. So that's why I say to you all, this journey starts from within. And with that, I think I ran out with my time. So guys, spread the word, learn about it. 4%, 0%, whatever. It's a great story. It works. There's a lot to go for in favor of our island. So guys, thank you so much for this time.
Applause for Gabriel Hernandez. Okay, so you heard from a Spaniard / Puerto Rican, an American, and from another Puerto Rican telling you the benefits of exporting. So it's like common sense, right? It's like common sense, but we're not doing it. So I want to open the mic. We have 8 minutes for questions. Make your questions. This is a really good panel and a lot of experience here. So who's the first one? First question. Raise your hand. Okay. I'll go down there. Name first. And you need to say if you're a hacker, hustler, or hipster. If you don't know, you say.
I feel I'm a hustler, but I heard today I'm a hipster. So for Etsy, my name is Tania Cristina Robles. I have a question. You said that you did your legwork going locally. I wanted to know if you could expand when you said about bloggers. What kind of activity did you do with bloggers? Did you do events? Did you actually go, or did you do it through phone, emails? Like, if you could have a little detail on what it means to do local legwork.
Yeah. Am I mic?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that specific area, we came at it from two sides. One was really selecting local partners, and I think it resonated in David's talk of, make sure they're the right strategic ones, so people that are aligned with our brand, that share our values, not just anyone who's willing to kind of play with us. So the question was, what kind of brands? Were they influencers? Were they just big brands? It was really a share. So you imagine someone like, you may be familiar with Tom Dixon, who's a huge designer in the UK. He's very influential. But then we also went to more, I guess you'd call them mom and pop type blogs, smaller but have a really strong following. So really going quite wide there. And then building features that made it just really easy for them to do that. And so that's things like creating sets of items that they think resonate with their followership. And so they're giving a pretty unique kind of view into our enormous marketplace, which people often find overwhelming. We found that was just a really valuable way to introduce who we are, what we're about, and a few key products. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, it was more like if you were doing events, if you were actually going to the place, if you were doing media, if you were,
So we have local.
But yeah, I did get the retailer part.
We have local teams on the ground. So in the UK, in Germany, and France, who are doing a lot of the legwork in order to reach out to them and hosting events and things like that. So.
Gracias. Otra pregunta. Aquí porque estoy más cerca, pero tú eres el segundo.
Based on an operation point of view for Etsy, when you go to new places, you get a new gateway for every place, a new bank account, or in the operation part. I'm just thinking about the currency, euro, and then if you go to Latin America, you have each currency for every country. So how do you work with that?
So we work with a payments processor who is global. And we chose that partner pretty strategically because of that functionality. So they unlock a lot of that opportunity for us. So we don't have to go into every single market and understand all the local laws and think about FX rates and all that kind of stuff. So we lean heavily on them.
Okay, I have another question here. Your name, and you need to say, if you're a hacker, hustler, hipster.
Hi, my name is Carlos Frontera, and I'm a hustler. Thank you. One question is to Gabriel. I would want to know if you can briefly explain a little bit about the incentives that you were mentioning about, for startups from Puerto Rico to export in terms of services or, technological products.
Sure. Let me give you a couple of pointers. The income you generate from sales or services you render to markets outside Puerto Rico, the income tax rate, it's only 4%. Any dividend distribution that you take from the company, the tax rate is a whopping 0%. Okay? You will also be entitled to a reimbursement of up to 50% of your research and development expenditure. So you are in your R&D expense, you'll get a tax credit equal to 50% of that investment, and that tax credit may be monetized by sale on the secondary market. You can also be promoted by Britco, which is a primary agency, by providing incentives when you hire people. They'll provide you actual money and subsidize your initial training payroll. So they would also provide you with a very cheap rental space if you inquire. For example, one of the assets they're currently using is the old Western Bank building in the Golden Mile. That's an asset that they're using for, hopefully none of my real estate client is here. That's an asset they're using to offer low rent to startups. So that, there may be other stuff depending on your particular case, but I'll say those would be very, very important things for you to know that are available. Did that cover fair enough?
Yeah, briefly, yes.
Super.
Good, thank you.
Hi, my name is Carlos Ruiz. I'm also a hustler. This question is for Tim. Tim, it's a little bit regarding your structure for your website or your engine. When you have when people log onto your page, is there a concern that, is it everybody logging to the same page, or do you have different places where you keep different markets' data separate? Or we have a similar structure where we take information, we put it over on the internet, we have people accessing from different countries, but our concern is as we grow, do you keep that separate? Do you have it all in one place? Does it shut down? You're shutting down the whole world? What's your recommendation on that?
So all of our products are available to anyone everywhere. So it's all in, imagine, one big lump. A little bit more complicated than that, but loosely. And then we do a lot of work on top of that to try to recommend or really surface the right items to people. And so by that, let's say you're in Europe, and we know that shipping is both cheap and fast within Europe. So we bubble those items that are from European sellers up to the top, in the way that products are curated. So it's not that you have to kind of sift through everything. We do a little bit of curation based on signals, that include things like IP, the language in which your browser is in, things like that.
Hi, my name is Fernando Rizari. I'm a hacker. My question is also for Tim regarding Etsy.
Well, these guys.
Sorry, I'm a hacker, man. Besides the difference in languages, you said you had a one global marketplace and like one page, or it's just Etsy.com. Did you run into any troubles with any cultural sensitivities like the color, or how did you test? Is it more popular in blue, or do you just go with the same color you go in the U.S.? How did that work out? Did you have any problems like that?
A great question. And I think it's one, frankly, that we're still exploring. I don't think we have the final answer to that. And I say that maybe because, let's use Japan as an example. We haven't really gone deep in that market, and I think it's when you think about, for example, Eastern cultures, where some of those things are just very different. Whereas in generally speaking, in Western cultures, a lot of the same things resonate. So whether you're in Germany, the US, or in Spain, the same type of things hold true. And one of our kind of somewhat core philosophies is that a good design will be both timeless and should resonate at a quite core level with most people, and then we can build on top of that if we need to, depending on cultural differences, maybe like in Japan.
Okay, the time is up. I'm gonna have one more question, very quick. Okay. Man, hurry up because I need a drink. Okay.
My name is Jose Francisco, and I'm a hacker. Many of you have talked about failure as a key element to success. Therefore, where do you find the motivation to, after failing, to keep up?
The motivation to continue after failing.
Can I say something? I think it's understanding it. Understanding that that's part of the journey. And I have I write a blog in Korean media. I put a lot of images and stuff, and there's one that I like a lot that I found on the internet. It's like a roller coaster, and when I'm there at that spot, I remember the roller coaster. Sometimes you're high, sometimes you're low, kind of thing. Also, when you're working on a project, sometimes you have progress. Sometimes you get on a plateau. It's like a staircase. Like boom, boom. You get progress, plateau, progress, plateau. And I visualize that. Like, okay, I'm in a plateau. Sometimes the plateau are like the big ones. Like when you have big stairs and they're like, shit, this plateau, it sucks. But it's like that. I think it's more your head. It's more how you deal with that and understanding that that's part of the process. And it's like taking the good things about it. It's like I'm failing, but I'm learning. So what I'm learning about this, what I'm learning about that. I had with David many discussions, because I used to say like, what, we made this mistake in the past, and he's like, man, but don't talk about the past. And no, man, I always need to bring the past because that's how we progress. When you go back and you see what you did wrong, and now you're doing good, And Steve Jobs said it great once, saying like, you cannot connect the dots forward, you can connect them backwards. So I think it's more in your head and being persistent, resilient, and saying like, man, I'm going forward, and getting support groups, friends, people that have been in your shoes is good, So I think that's what I have to say. I don't know if you guys have a.
I would add something to that, which is that I think for me, growing the business internationally, for us, it was a big dream. And we were very passionate about what we're doing. No? So I think passion is a great source for motivation. So sometimes you have failures in the process, and failures create frustration and other negative emotions. But if you're passionate about your dreams and pursuing your dreams, that's a great source of energy every morning when you wake up. No? So you have to be very passionate about what you do, and you need to be very serious about pursuing and achieving your dreams.
Okay. Yeah, and the last thing, do what you love, man. If you don't love what you do, change. So that the passion comes when you really love what you do. And I love this because I love this. You know, I love entertainment. I love this. I did talent shows in the garage of my house. You know, I have many stories, fun stories, but I love this. And for me, this is not work. It's fun. So get that. So thank you. Give a big round of applause to the guys. It's awesome. You guys are awesome. I'm so excited.